Live Zone. Well, up in New York City, Mayor Mamdani is allocating a large chunk of an $8.4 million small business grant package towards strengthening merchant groups in business improvement districts and in some neighborhoods, laying the groundwork for new merchant organizations, along with New York City's commercial corridors. The grant will also pay for street cleaning, lighting, public art, you name it. Mamdani said the grants are meant to complete the administration's push to reduce regulatory burdens by making commercial corridors more attractive to customers. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Lloyd Chapman, founder and president of the American Small Business League and the Don't Cheat Woman Project. Lloyd, it's good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
But of course, we have a lot to unpack here. In this case, we know, Lloyd, that Mamdani says grants such as these can really benefit entire commercial strips because, well, relatively small awards can fund improvements or organizing that reaches many businesses rather than one storefront at a time. That's a lot to digest there. What say you?
Well, like every other city in America, New York, 99.9% of all the businesses are small businesses. That means only 0.1% of businesses in America aren't small businesses. I think Mamdani's what he's doing is fantastic. I think every mayor of every city in America should do the same thing. Most Americans don't know that, again, that 99.9% of all U.S. firms are small businesses. And according to the Census Bureau, they're half the gross domestic product from small businesses. Most Americans either own or work in a small business, and they create about over 95% of all net new jobs. So programs to help small businesses are brilliant. And again, I wish every mayor in the country would do what Mamdani's doing.
Obviously, as you pointed out, small businesses is the name of the game, and or those that have a front seat, if you will, or on the front lines to dealing with the everyday American. It's no secret, Mamdani has focused on just that. And to your point, it's somewhat unusual. And do you think now that a number of other mayors will mimic what he has done?
I hope so. I think his program is going to be massively successful. And I know it's going to be successful, and I wish every mayor in the country would follow suit. And the federal government needs to follow suit, too. In a country where 99.9% of all the businesses are small businesses, there's only one agency in government to help those companies. That's the Small Business Administration. And that agency's budget was larger in 1980 than it is today. That's the only agency that's had the budget that's smaller today than it was, 40 years ago. So, the federal government needs to take some lessons from Mamdani and spend more money and more time trying to help small businesses. AI is killing millions of jobs across the country. And we're going to be in big trouble economically if the government doesn't do something to address that. And the smartest thing to do is to pump up all those small business programs. That's what Congress and what the president should do.
Obviously, we are seeing a different time, a shifting time, if you will, within the Democratic Party. We know that Mamdani is obviously a part of the Democrat Socialist group, if you will. And with that being said, yet again, I have to pose the question, do you think that we'll see more Democrats and or independents siding with what he has in mind, and that is supporting, in this case, small businesses?
I think we will. I think it's become clear to the people in America that most of our tax dollars are being spent overseas, in funding all kinds of things, foreign wars and everything. But I think it's becoming clear to people that that's happening. And I think that anyone that wants to be elected in Congress needs to become pro-small business and pro-American and realize that we need our tax dollars spent here in America. Here's something, by the way, that might shock you. For every soldier killed in combat, 4 commit suicide. Look that up, right? Military families are suffering food shortages. And nobody knows that. Trillions of dollars are missing across the government. But our tax dollars are being misspent. They're being squandered. And I don't think anybody in America wants our tax dollars squandered. We need that money invested in America on programs that support the American people and the small businesses where most Americans work.
Yet again, you are the founder and president of the American Small Business League. One of the many issues that you touched on happens to be what Mamdani is doing in New York City to reach out to small businesses. What else do you all have on the agenda? What's on the horizon for you, sir?
Well, right now, I've been fighting for, 40 years to get the federal government to quit giving small business contracts to Fortune 500 firms. You can Google Fortune 500 firms getting small business contracts and see some of the stories. My latest project is called the Don't Cheat Women Project. And most people don't know that, gosh, for the last 50 years, companies owned by men have gotten over 95% of all federal spending. Women are half the population. They own 43% of the business in America. And woman-owned firms have never even gotten 5% of government spending. So we have drafted some legislation we hope to get passed that'll increase the federal goal for contracts for woman-owned small businesses from 5% to 15%. And I think that everyone we've talked to in Congress supports that. But I think the women of America don't realize, I think they're being cheated. You're paying your taxes, right? You're half the population. And for 50 years, almost all federal spending goes to companies owned by men. That's not good for the economy, by the way. The Senate Small Business Committee did a report, I think 15 years ago, that said for every 1% contracts of small business go up, it creates 100,000 jobs a year. So if my bill could get passed and give women 10% more, that would be 1 million new jobs a year. That would be over a 50% increase in net new jobs. That would cause a significant positive ripple through the economy. But doesn't it make sense to you that we shouldn't be giving 95% of all federal spending to companies owned by men? Women need a more equitable share of government spending. They're paying their taxes. So I hope to get that changed sometime soon.
I have to concur, sir. Folks that want to find out more information, how would they go about to do so, Mr. Chapman?
You can go to my latest website, don'tcheatwomen.com and ASBL.com. And I think everybody in America should support anything that increases jobs and boosts the economy. And seeing that women get a more equitable share of federal spending is going to create jobs and boost the economy. It's good for everybody. It's also fair. It's equitable. It's not fair to women, to give all the money to men. I think men make 76% of all political donations. You can see they have all the major positions in government. I'd like to see more women elected to Congress and more women in government. I think we'd be better off, quite frankly, as a country if we had more women in the government.
And thanks to good folks like you, sir. Perhaps we'll see that in the very near future. Yet again, we have been speaking with Mr. Lloyd Chapman, kind enough to join us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. I truly appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break.